For the record, we had this idea before ESPN released their article. We are not copycats. We are highly original humans.
That is true.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Saturday edition of Locked On Women's Basketball. Today we'll be ranking every WNBA team's young core. We're defining young core as players 25 and under, but also there's some players that are also 26 years old that are either on rookie scale contracts or are just getting off the rookie scale contracts. So we'll kind of have that loose definition of what we describe as rookie scale contracts and young cores in general for this episode. Let's go right into it.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are Locked On Women's Basketball. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name's Hunter Cruse. I'm your Saturday host covering the WNBA draft and prospect scouting. Today I'm joined by co-host Emily Adler. Emily covers the draft and WNBA with focus on player development and the game within the game. We'll be going number 1 all the way to number 13. Who has the worst young core will probably be in line there at number 13 and number 1, but between there's going to be some disagreement. We have not talked about our rankings at all, so we'll be going blind here. Emily,
which is genuinely less than it's generally less preparation than we usually have for this podcast, believe it or not. Well, I shouldn't say less preparation, less talking about the subject matter.
Yeah.
Anyway,
less talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one team that happens to have 2 role 7 or better players on rookie scale deals. That would be Indiana. They have obviously Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. There is probably 1 team, maybe 2 teams in the league who have even 2 players that are as good together as Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, let alone players who are in their second and third years in the league. Also worth noting that Lexi Hull is coming off of her restricted year, right?
This is her last year of a rookie scale. Year 4 for her.
She's
same draft as 2023 draft. 22, right? 22.
Should be 22, right? Yeah, because that was the Ryan. It was Ryan.
Yeah. That draft.
So she is coming off of her restricted year now, but not necessarily part of the quote unquote cost controlled core, but still worth noting as a player who, given her age, given the team sort of prioritizing that kind of skill set, would expect her to stick around for a while. And I think, at least for the purposes of looking at their future, I would consider her pretty good.
Yeah, very easily number 1. Also to consider here, I think Michaela Timpson is also the other player under 25 on this roster. Very clearly, I had a tier 1, and it was Indiana. I just said multiple legit stars. There's 1 team with that, and it's Indiana.
Well, pretty much. I mean, as far as things go, it's when was the last time a team had this kind of combo together was I should have thought about this beforehand. But no, Asia. Jackie could. Well, here's the thing: Jackie couldn't shoot until 2022.
That's true. This is a better young core.
She wasn't even she was a fine player the first couple of years. She wasn't even a real bang on regular season killer until 2020. KP came along kind of slowly.
Yeah, that's actually a good. Is it Stewie Jewell?
You could argue Stewie Jewell depending on when you think Jewell broke out. Yeah. It's been a long time, is I think sort of the point here.
Yeah.
They're so set. It's crazy.
Then they have a 3-and-D wing that's still making threes, of which she did towards the end of last year.
Yeah. And it is funny to me. I mean, first of all, what is Hull's?
She's getting to the rim and getting into
Yeah, I was gonna say she it's not in terms of her profile. You should, just because of how 3-point shooting stabilizes, you should throw out her first couple of years in terms of maybe not throw out, but just take into consideration sort of her whole career arc. Okay, so I had to look this up. She currently has shot almost 200 threes in the W, and she's hit just over a third of them. Like, that is the low end, I think, of like what is a reasonable outcome for her. She's going to hit more than those, especially given the arc lately. No pun intended. But like, that's not the surprising part of her like skill set coming out of college, because like that was the thing that was supposed to happen. She was considered on the industry side the best shooter in the draft, just bang on there, and everything else was sort of a little bit of a plus. The defensive abilities are really nice. And that was certainly within the profile. But like you're saying, the ability to attack closeouts off the dribble, like she's been able to do, especially this year, that's been a really surprising and really welcome advancement in her game. I like it a lot.
Number 2 for me is probably not the popular pick, just based on what we've seen this season. And I also think a way I look at the value of a young core is that I would prefer a team with one superstar player in my young core than 3 to 4 solid role players. I don't know if Emily disagrees there as far as like her approach to this, and that's why.
Sorry, there's like a really scary bug in here.
Number 2 for me is the Dallas Wings. I just believe that when you have Paige Beckers in your young core, we're classifying Dejanay Carrington here as well, just considering she's 26, 27-ish, but 1 year off of her rookie scale. And they also have Maddie Siegrist, Isaiah James, Melissa Smith, JJQ. But it's really just Paige Beckers. She's the only player I'm confident is on this roster in 2 to 3 years from now. And I think that's a solid building off point whenever they're going to have another lottery pick. Maybe number 1 again, or number 2.
Yeah, I was a little bit back. Sorry. Yeah, I was a little bit back and forth on number 2 and number 3. I assume we'll have the same team. I shouldn't assume, but I figure we'll have the same team number 3. But I was a little back and forth on it just because of that depth you're talking about. But yeah, you have Paige. That's just sort of the tautology is what it is. Like, it's nice to have the other pieces. Maddie Siegrist is a very useful sort of power forward in the league. She's really good at hitting twos. She's a very good cutter. She fills gaps well, etc. Shooting's probably fake. The shooting from like her rookie year is probably fake. And then, I would say probably between Isaiah James and JJQ, I've seen enough this year that like at least one of them is going to be like a decent depth option, but still like it's sort of question marks at this point, given the minutes, given they've had nice flashes. We're like, 9 games into the season, and it's not been overwhelmingly good or bad, which is solid for players of their sort of draft stock. And then you have, I think, sort of in sort of the same vein as Hull, you have Dejanay and Liss, who are both, entering full free agency. You can say we will about wanting one of them back, or just sort of what you think their fit is, I think, long-term with Paige and with the better players in this rotation. But it's options, is how I'll put it. You have options for productive WNBA players.
So are you Dallas too?
Oh, yeah, to be clear.
Then number 3. Do you have LA number 3?
No, I have Washington.
Washington number 3.
Do you have LA?
I have LA number 3. Mm-hmm.
Is that just because of how good Cam is?
It's Cameron Brink. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, it's sort of back and forth on that as well, in terms of like.
I think it's reasonable to be lower on LA, but I think I'm still banking in the pre-draft eval on Cam before we see
I would
her, at
too.
least. If I see Cam this season, it's later in the year. We've seen months of ramping up, and she doesn't look like the all W player, then I'm probably leaning towards Washington, probably at number 3 in this spot. But I believe in Rickea Jackson. I think there's a lot of talent there as the shot creation stuff. Defensive, there's the potential there defensively. We haven't seen a whole lot of her yet this season. Sarah Ashley Barker, it's been a little bit rough. Sanaya's played like 1 minute.
Gotta get those other Cannon minutes in.
And then Leah King is all of a sudden a pull-up scorer.
But also is not playing any minutes anymore.
And isn't playing minutes anymore. But it comes down to Cam Brink and Rickea Jackson. I think there's some level of belief there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more than fair. As far as it goes for me, it's just the level of depth that you have with Washington.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so just looking at players who are very clearly pieces of the future in some way, shape, or form. Sonia Citron, Aaliyah Edwards, Kiki Rialpin, and Jade Melbourne. Well, maybe not Jade Melbourne because they decided to let like a 24-year-old, 25-year-old become at the like most important and like least depth position in the league become an unrestricted free agent. But at least sort of on paper for this year, you have 4 players there who are like legitimate like top 7, 8 rotation players. Or like, you know what I mean. And in that sense, I think like you just don't get that level of having both starters and backups and like real impact players at this age very often. And I think if you don't have a Caitlin Clark, you don't have a Paige Beckers, for me, it's how much can you just create the space around them? And I think for as good as Cameron Brink is, and for as good as she profiles, there's, I would take having more of that assurity. That's a word I just made up. And then, in the same category as I think Isaiah James, JJQ, Georgia Amor, what will she look like as a 26-year-old or 25-year-old rookie coming off a torn ACL? I'm probably a little pessimistic about what that might look like, but it's worth noting Lucy Olsen's been at least competent this year. And then, you have options with Shakira Austin and Emily Angstler. Are they both too much of tweeners? Is Kira still playing hurt? Is this kind of what her defense is going to look like after these injuries? Yeah. We have options, I think, is sort of the point here. But I largely agree with you on LA as well, just not the ranking.
Right. I think it's valid there. Washington's at 4 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
it's the same top 4.
When you have this many connective pieces, you just need that number 1 young prospect. They get that number 1 young prospect. They're possibly a tier 1 in this group. Even if they don't have the 2 superstar young players, if you have a superstar young player plus 4 high-end starters, high-end backups, that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be doing... I'm trying to think what... There's not too many good examples of this, the W, but you're not going to have... That's the sort of thing where you have like a star and no one around them. You're not going to have what Dallas looked like when Satu was there. Sorry, Jack. You're not going to have this sort of setup where you have to worry about the star leaving or wanting out or any of these sorts of things because you fail to build around them. Because if the star comes in, whether via trade... or again, via draft, via free agency less likely in Washington, you're set.
Set up very well in Washington right now. Let's get to our first ad break, then get into the remainder of our rankings. The NBA playoffs are in full swing and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot. Shout out Tyrese Halliburton, just every year, every round in the playoffs. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to win, to play smart and win big. With FanDuel, you can pick. It's able to make the game very easy, and you can win $200. Use $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. New to FanDuel, it's the first time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, to kick off segment 2, at number 5 in the rankings, I have Atlanta here.
What?
You don't have Atlanta number 5?
Dude, they have one good player in a rookie skill deal. They have one probably good player in a rookie skill deal. I played at 11th.
11th?
I listed 3 players. One of them is on a rookie scale deal. Who did you list?
Ryan Howard.
Who did I forget?
Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard's an unrestricted free agent.
No, she's not.
She's going to be.
No, she's not.
Isn't she?
No.
22, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is going to be her unrestricted free agency. Okay,
No,
to her
it's
hoop stats we go.
This is her 4th season. This should be at RFA this offseason.
I thought it was RFA after 3.
No.
Oh, 4th-year option, then rookie scale.
I thought it was insane.
I also thought you were insane.
No, if it's Pow Pow, Nas, and Nadia Butch, I'm not having them number 5.
Wow,
the
Matilda Villa erasure. Okay, I gotta rearrange this list. Where do I put them if I'm considering? Yeah, they're 5 with Ryan. Okay. Yes,
Even if I'm a little bit concerned about the Ryan Howard experience, like there's real questions there.
I totally forgot your cost control for 5. Well, sort of cost control for 5 years.
That's why Ryan counts.
Ryan should fetch at least 200,000 this year, though, because everyone will have
depending
cap
on what
space.
the salary situation looks like.
It's not going to go down.
That's true. But where are you at on just this skill set and what it means for Atlanta? Like as far as like
if she's the 3rd best player on your team, you're probably the title favorite, if not the number 2. If she's the number 2
is that the case in Atlanta though? They're going to resign
Exactly. If she's the number 2 player, depends on who your number 1 is, but either way, you're probably not great.
I mean, right now it's Alicia Gray. I mean, she's their best player.
Right. Well, that's why it depends, right? Because if it was Nas and like JJ, if it was Nas and Caitlin, that's different, right? If it's Nas and another wing, like that's redundant. You still need both a center and a point guard.
Right. So yeah, I think Ryan Howard, just if she can find a way to be more efficient, find a way, because whenever the shots are going in, like it's a 6'2" wing that can defend and can run off movement and score in many different ways when it's going right. It's just as far as the overall consistency package. That's why they are number 5 here.
We are very strongly at risk of this being an Enrique situation in terms of the situation in the W on the team and the usage she is asked to take on is putting her in a bucket in which she is learning very bad habits that don't fit her scoring skill set. I'm not saying necessarily that is what has led Enrique to this outcome, or that it possibly could lead Ryan out of this outcome, or that it ever could have. But at the very least, like what we're looking at now with her, I think if you give her another year like this, you might just be ingraining things that you can't unlearn to be a good player on a good team.
Do you know what Ryan is shooting at the rim this season, and then also in pull-up threes?
Well, she's never been good at the rim. A good number for her would be like 52%.
45.5% at the rim. That is overall, not even like
including transition.
Half court rim, that is 7 of 14, which I guess is better. But
also a minuscule sample. And then
pull-up
three, she's always been like she's always been a few percentiles below what you need to be. So I'm gonna say like 29.
26%.
Oh. Yeah, she's always like, even dating back to Kentucky, she's always flirted with being good enough to take a bunch of pull-up threes, but has never really gotten there.
And the problem there is that she's taking 83 total threes as we record this episode, and 39 of them are pull-ups. So it's like almost 50-50 as far as the pull-up.
It's like 4 a game.
It's way too
More,
many pull-ups and then way too few spot-ups for that kind of shot distribution. But before we get to our next ad break. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should say, I will say, as far as that dev arc we were talking about, like, she's basically been the same player she's been since her junior year, her sophomore year at Kentucky. She adjusted well to the W in her second year in the league, but she gave some of those sort of process skills back and hasn't gotten better. It's very unfortunate, especially defensively.
Right. Then number 6 for you.
After the break.
After the break? All right, let's get to our second ad break, then finish out this ranking.
Do a little marathon. I think I meant sprint.
Yeah, I think it'll be a sprint. If we go marathon, we'll be here for like 40 minutes.
I don't think we're allowed to do marathon.
I don't think that's going to fit the format. Number 6 for you.
Who
is it?
I had to tie it. So I have a tie here between New York and Seattle.
Okay. I have Seattle 6.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's basically just theoretical value versus established value. So, New York has... So, Leonie Fibic is obviously, I think, very clearly a Rule 55. Niara, 45, probably. And I think we've really established that both of them are, just given what I just said, useful WNBA players. Both are, Niara's cost-controlled for another year. Fibic is cost-controlled
right, because of the
4 years.
Right?
Yeah. Fibic is cost-controlled for another 4 years unless we change something in the CBA. Whereas,
which I doubt. It's kind of the format across leagues.
Also, there are just more vets than young players, so if you're going to sideline, just from like a labor organizing perspective, those ideas, their say in the bargaining just kind of gets pushed aside. Which, yeah, sure. Obviously, Dom has way higher upside. She could also just be nothing. We'll see what happens. She probably is something. But
based on what we've seen so far, I think there's something.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen from her what you would expect from a complete bust.
Like she's past the Awak kind of baseline, I think.
That's so rude to Awak. Dom is past the baseline of like the Nalissa Smith baseline. Don't slander Awak like this.
But that's the baseline of 19-year-old young player coming to the league playing minutes.
Awak had good flashes.
But she was shooting like 25%.
Dom also is like...
She's like 60, 55.
Okay. Okay, fine, but she's not shooting much. So it's sort of... Whatever.
Hey, when she shoots, she's making them.
It's worth noting New York has... Rebecca, you're right. It's worth noting New York has Rebecca Gardner under contract for another couple years.
That's a young player right there.
That did not factor into the ranking. It's just worth noting. And then Seattle, in the same vein as Kira, Liz, Lexi Hall, Ezzy Magor is obviously a Role 7, Role 8 defender. Probably Role 7. She's giving up too much like Bree Jones in the post, and a very useful player just overall. Even if she somehow can't make free throws now,
which it just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Missed as many this season as she did all of last year.
And she was taking way more free throws last year on a rate basis.
For me, 6 Seattle, 7 New York. So do you go 7 New York, 6?
I have them tied at 6.
Okay, so we got basically the same top 7.
Okay.
Who is number 8 for you?
I'd rather. Here's the thing. I have trouble separating the next. Basically,
I have 8, 9, 10, and then I have a tier gap.
Okay, so is Golden State in that tier for you?
Yes.
See, that's where I have trouble. So I have trouble deciding between Chicago and Phoenix here at the 8-9 spot.
Ooh, Phoenix.
Well, yeah, Phoenix. We have multiple young players who are very clearly W players. A couple of whom could, if not probably will be in like a serious contending rotation. Chicago has no one of that caliber yet, but Cardoso and Reese obviously.
Higher ceilings.
Yeah, much higher ceilings. They both could be like a top, like the number 3 or number 4 on like a second tier contender. So like ceiling versus floor, possible bust versus obviously useful WNBA players is sort of where I'm at with that. And Chicago basically just has those 2 players. Phoenix, obviously, you have Monica Komakani. Lexi Held is very clearly past the baseline test. Natasha Mack is there. And then it is worth noting, although they are not young players, Catherine Westfeld and Katisha Laxo are both under contract and controlled for another 3 to 4 years. That is some
international
elite cap
scouting.
work. Some elite cap work. Who do you have 8-9?
Chicago's 8 for me.
Okay. Same reason?
I just think the ceiling piece, and I'm more confident in what I've seen. I still like we've seen Angel and Camille Cardozo versus Golden State. We've seen Janelle Solon for 5-6 games. We haven't seen Yosite in the league at all. And I actually have one team between them, and that's Connecticut at number 9.
I forgot about Yosite. Okay, Connecticut is in this tier. Connecticut is in this tier for me.
These are my 3 teams right here. I would have Chicago, Connecticut, Golden State. I'm just a huge believer in Rivers-Laycon duo and just how that fits versus Late, Yosite, Solon, Veronica Burton's in there, which VB's played very well.
Okay, you're reminding me.
There's not a lot of synergy between those players, I don't think.
You're reminding me that I forgot to write down the international players who aren't here, which in this case is just Yosite and Laycon, but those are important people. Now, I would have had probably Golden State. I'll call it for me a 4-team tier. There's the 2 I had tied. And yeah, Connecticut, basically just because of how good Sanaya Rivers has been, and the fact that we both think Laycon is an excellent player, I have him there. And yeah, Golden State, it remains to be seen for me how necessarily good Solon can be, as opposed to just sort of being a useful role player who can hit a bunch of good shots.
It's just so tough because she's
valuable.
Just overtaxed.
She's like, what is she like? She's like Rakia times 0.8 at this point. Is that like a decent assessment?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
she's obviously a better pure shooter, but like a worse shot creator. I'm just thinking in terms of like fine defender, not especially good or great. Takes a lot of jumpers, clearly overtaxed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Carla Late. Remains to be seen sort of where we're at with her. So for me, it's just sort of being able to clearly see really good starting level play.
That's the problem.
Is why I have a Golden State at the bottom of this tier.
Agreed, but the reason I love like a Koa Makani and then like Lexi Gell's played well, Natasha Mack, that group, but I just think the ceiling of what Golden State could have there is just a little bit higher for me.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of had this. We've had this be the theme the whole time, right? I had Washington where you had LA. I had New York tied with Seattle where you had Seattle above. So I think I
think you
if there's not
the floor and the established skill sets over me.
If we're not talking about like a clear like possible roll 7, roll 8, then I'm going for 4. Which I guess is whatever.
So you have, how would you rank these teams in total?
From 1 to 10 or 1 to 11?
Between Chicago, Connecticut, Golden State, Phoenix.
I forgot about Con. I'll go like 3-way tie Chicago, Phoenix, Connecticut, and then Golden State maybe a step behind.
Then there's 2 teams where it's just a clear separation.
It's basically no one on these teams except for like a wing and a prayer. Actually, in the sake of Minnesota, that's more literal than I wanted it to be.
That is true.
The wing is Diamond Miller. The prayers, Elena Kusu. I assume you have Minnesota over Vegas.
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Minnesota's
core
we're too Russian
is
league called.
Alyssa Peely. Shout out Alyssa Peely for now being officially 5'10".
Wait, I thought it was 5'11". She's 5'10".
I thought it was. I swear it said 5'10" on the website.
Links.
Which we've known she's 5'10".
WNBA.com/roster. We said 5'11" to be clear.
I swear it says 5'10" on the website.
I would not have staked my entire career on writing that she was 6'1" in Air Force Ones. She's 5'11". Okay.
I don't believe it. I think she's still 5'10". But either way,
she is the tallest 5. She's the tallest 5'10". Like when guys are like 5'9", 5'10", they say they're basically 6 foot. She's the opposite of that.
She hasn't played much this season, but she is a part of this young core. It's her, Olari Kosu, Diamond Miller. Kosu has the ceiling piece, but
kind of Dorka.
Yeah, they have Dorka too. Dorka, yeah. I forgot.
So rude.
I forgot. I was looking at the roster, and I forgot she was suspended contract.
Did not write her name down. So if it makes you feel better. I also just remembered because I forgot most players haven't played this year.
That also just makes it even more clear that they're better than Las Vegas.
Because we can think of more names.
That is true, and it's 4 versus 3, so it's already outnumbered there.
For me, it's 2 versus 1.
As far as total names that are under 25.
As far as total names that I considered writing down, frankly.
Then Las Vegas is Aaliyah Nye, Liz Kitley, Kirsten Bell.
Kirsten Bell has failed whatever threshold test you can come up with. Kirsten Bell basically is the
stuck around for 4 years. Just as a vibe. Just off vibes.
She stuck around that long because Becky couldn't be bothered to do any scouting, and they kept firing and they fired the bad GM anyway. I shouldn't say bad. The GM was very useful at exactly what they needed her to do, which was some illegal shit and then be the fall woman.
Yeah, and I think
good work if you can get it.
Who's the best player here? Like, if you think who's
the only player I've written down for Vegas is I wrote Nye with a question mark. Kitley has also failed the test. I mean,
Aaliyah Nye has a skill.
Yeah, I liked Kitley enough to want to put her at the very end of the board that year. But look, she's coming back from a significant injury. I am not calling her a bust. I'm not calling her, not worthy of putting on this list at all yet. There should be some good runway for what she's coming back from, given how good she was before. Her profile and how thin her margins were at winning. We talked before about how much of her production was sort of Penny Brooks scheming up to get her close to the rim. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, Aaliyah has a skill. She could be a very good shooter. I've been wrong about players before.
And the Liz Kitley thing also is that I don't think this is a skill set that complements what you have on your roster.
No, we're talking about if Megan Gustafson couldn't shoot.
Right, she's not offering much defensively that's going to help your team.
Meg's a tough fit. Meg was a tough fit in the first place, and if Meg can't shoot, Kitley has to be a lead around the rim.
Shout out Jordan Horston as well. I don't think we mentioned Jordan Horston.
We completely forgot Jordan Horston.
I included her, but I forgot to mention her. Just shout out Jordan Horston, fun basketball player.
Probably wouldn't change my ranking.
No,
because Fee-Bitch is better, but yeah.
Yep, and just thanks from Ultimate Basketball, your first listen every day. Join the team next week for continued coverage of women's basketball. Make your second listen Locked On NBA game night, every game every night until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, and have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.